There are so many people challenging the establishment this time around, and it's one of the most amazing things to see coming from the progressive movement. In my own backyard, there is a race to challenge a sitting congresswoman who has been there for decades. And if you know anything about this district, New York 12, you would know that it is one of the most progressive places in the country. Of course, that's where I live. And I think it's about time that we have a congresswoman, who reflects the progress that's happening in my neighborhood in Astoria and beyond. Lauren Ashcraft, thank you for coming to the show. I just want to say from the top, I am so proud to endorse you, and I'm so excited to get you elected.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to have your endorsement and just really, really respect all the awareness you raise about the movement. So thank you so much.
Of course. So Lauren, let's talk a little bit about my favorite district in America, New York's 12th district. What inspired you to run? What was the background of your run in this cycle?
Yeah, so I grew up just knowing that the government doesn't pay attention to everyday people and the struggles that we face. And on one side of my family, my grandmother's an immigrant from Japan and faced a lot of xenophobia and racism, which is still very much alive today, as we all know. My grandfather was literally killed by corporate greed in a coal mining accident. My other grandfather fell and unfortunately broke his neck, so he became a quadriplegic, and my family was his caretakers because obviously he couldn't afford to hire one because he lost his income and everything because of his accident. And I just grew up understanding that's how it is. The government isn't there for you, but we have to be there for each other. And, I zip forward a few years down the road, Bernie Sanders had an amazing message talking about how corporate money is muddying our politics. And that really resonated with me. Actually, it took him a few times saying it till I was like, wait.
That's why he says it over and over. Okay.
Yes. Whenever you've never put the pieces together and then you hear it like 10 times, it's like, wait. Everything's a lot more broken than we even think it is. Right. And I got really involved in kind of organizing on the ground here in New York City. I was part of organizing the Women's March on New York. And in 2019, because of my background in comedy, I was really honored to MC that march. And I brought Representative Ocasio-Cortez on stage, and I saw that she was able to address the crowd and talk about the Green New Deal. She wasn't even in office yet. She hadn't been sworn in yet, and everybody knew what she was talking about. And I thought to myself, what's come out of my district? What kind of ideas has my representative fought for? And I couldn't think of one. And I thought about all the people like my family that have gone ignored. And I talk to my neighbors, I see them struggling. And now look where we are. In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a criminal justice crisis, this is what passive leadership looks like, and it's what it has led us to. And I'm reminded every single day why I've gotten into this race. I'm fighting for people like my family, and I'm fighting for people that have gone ignored and oppressed all this time.
This district is, for those of you who aren't based in New York, it's quite an interesting district because you do have more working class families in Queens that have traditionally been pretty working class, what we used to call middle class, at least in New York. And then you have the Upper East Side, which is, if not one of the wealthiest places on the planet. It definitely houses the wealthiest people on the planet. They probably have several homes, but many. And then it carries on to other parts of New York, which are now more and more unaffordable, but used to be, at least when Representative Maloney was in office, used to be more affordable to live in. And so you're running at a moment, at least pre-pandemic, when New York had what they labeled the strongest economy ever, but also what we label, and is true, the starkest income inequality in the country. So when you campaign, and then I guess I would be saying pre-COVID, when you campaign across the district, what are the different kinds of conversations that pop up along the way based on neighborhood, like their concerns?
Yeah, well, I've learned from this campaign that we have to throw any kind of preconceived notions totally out the window, because I walked into a very, very expensive doorman house in the Upper East Side and was expecting to have some difficult conversations. And I literally was invited into somebody's apartment, and somebody that makes more than I will ever see in my life said to me, why don't you guys tax me more?
Huh.
And I was flabbergasted, and I learned to just never have any kind of preconceived notions, because you just don't know what somebody's situation is. That opened my eyes a lot, and they're right, we should. And in Long Island City, I obviously pre-COVID was knocking on doors, and there was a man who suffered from dementia and Alzheimer's, and told me that he had one more month left of rent. And after that, he expected to move under, and he named a bridge. And I walked out of that interaction, and my team worked really hard to connect him to any resources available. But that haunts me every single day. And whenever I think about the fact that we've been represented by the same person for 27 years, and there are people that are experiencing this kind of hardship in our district, in one of the richest cities in the world. And I've had trouble sleeping at night. We've checked in on him. He has gotten connected with the resources that have helped him through this time. But now, in the middle of coronavirus, millions of Americans are losing their jobs. Over 71% of this district rents their homes. And so many people in the district can't pay rent, just like that man that we helped. But we don't have the kind of fighter that's making sure that people don't have to think about what bridge they'll live under. It's horrifying.
You are listening and watching The Nomiki Show. Make sure to click subscribe and like and share to get those alerts on YouTube. And if you are not already, please join us on Patreon. It's our patrons who make this show happen. We are an independent media channel. What that means is that we don't have corporate stakeholders pushing us through the algorithms. We're not getting the likes and shares through bots. You guys are what makes the show function. So please, we invite you to join us on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show.